Welcome to the Menttium Matters podcast, where we talk about leadership, life, and the transformative power of mentoring. I'm Solveig Brown, and today I am so excited to have Pam Stegora-Axberg as my guest. Pam is an inspiring leader who brings a fascinating perspective of having moved from a corporate leadership role into the world of nonprofit leadership. In today's episode, Pam will share some of the important things she has learned throughout her career journey, such as how to identify and showcase transferable skills, and what it really takes to make a successful career shift at different stages of life. We'll also talk about how to lead with impact and how to build the kind of skills that open doors to opportunities like serving on a board. Pam will share her advice for anyone who wants to grow as a leader, no matter where they are in their career journey. If you've ever wondered how to navigate a big career shift, how to make your skills shine, or how to lead with impact, this episode is for you. I am so excited to dive into this conversation, but before we begin, let me tell you more about Pam. Pam Stegora-Axberg is the CEO of Union Gospel Mission Twin Cities, which provides life-transforming pathways for all people experiencing homelessness, hunger, and addiction. Prior to Union Gospel Mission, Pam was an executive at UnitedHealthcare and Optum, where she held several leadership roles, including managing national strategic partnerships, transforming the provider-patient experience, and leading national and international operations. Pam's career also includes 20 years in telecommunications at Quest Communications, formerly US West. Pam has served on many nonprofit and community boards, including the YWCA Minneapolis Board, YWCA USA Board of Directors, Girl Scouts River Valley, Junior Achievement North, Topline Financial Credit Union, and New Brighton City Council. Pam has received a variety of awards, including the Women's Health Leadership Trust 2019 Mentor of the Year Award, the YWCA 2023 Kate Berman Leadership Award, and the Women's Health Leadership Trust 2025 Jean Harris Award. Pam was in Menttium's first Mentee cohort and has been an 18-time mentor for Menttium, as well as a mentor for other organizations. Pam earned her BA at St. Catherine University and her MBA from the Carlson School of Management at the University of Minnesota. She is also a public policy fellow from the Humphrey Institute at the University of Minnesota. She and her husband live in New Brighton, Minnesota, and have 4 adult children scattered throughout the country. Together, they enjoy their time at the cabin and farming. Pam is a winner of multiple blue ribbons at the Minnesota State Fair. Welcome, Pam.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you today.
I am so happy to be here with you. I just have to tell everyone that Pam brought me State Fair Blue Ribbon Award-winning potatoes as a gift today, and I am just so excited. It's so cool that you do that.
I am happy to share my gift of potatoes, and I've been enjoying sharing them and donating some to work, so I know they go for a good cause, helping feed lots of people.
Oh, definitely. So, Pam, can you tell me more about your background and how you transitioned your career from a corporate leadership position to being the CEO of Union Gospel Mission?
Yes, well, thank you. As you read my bio, I'm like, oh, I think I'm old, and you've been doing things for a long time. But I'd actually say it was very intentional and somewhat surprising. Both can be true at the same time.
Yes.
In that it was intentional that where I wanted to go, but surprising in that I didn't know where it would go, and I had to be open to opportunities at the same time. So let me tell you just a little bit about what I mean by that. So I knew, as I had about 14 years at UnitedHealthcare and United Health Group, that I had been doing a lot of volunteer work on not-for-profit boards. And as I was sitting at one time on a search committee and helping find the next CEO for the not-for-profit, I'm like, I think I could do this. But it wasn't the right time for me personally, but it was a great opening to learn, to say, gosh, if I wanted to do that, what would I have to be able to do in the next 3 years to be qualified? So very intentional to say, what might I want to do after my career ended at UnitedHealthcare? So I knew not-for-profits, but from a board role. But what might be those things? That's actually why I went and got my Humphrey Fellowship, is I thought, maybe the public policy experience might be helpful in the not-for-profit. And so I was also very intentional around what might be the skills that I would take time to do, or how might I use my volunteering time in order to gain skills that might fill me up, but might also position me should I want to do a career transition and change. So very intentional. People think, oh, I suddenly went for not for profit. But I would share with people is like, I've been doing not for profit as a volunteer. I'd like to shift my volunteer work now into a paid position.
Right. And I like the intentionality that you had and the 3-year plan of that. And like you said, it's not just an overnight thing. You really thought about it and figured out how can I transfer my skills. So that brings up a really good question. Can you talk more about transferable skills and how you can showcase them like you did?
Yeah, so there are many skills that people think are naturally transferable. But there are sometimes you need to first change your language around it and how you talk about it. And what I learned is I needed to change my language, and I needed to connect the dots for people and not expect others to connect the dots. But I did that even when I changed from telecom to healthcare. It was so funny. I'm in my healthcare interview at UnitedHealthcare, and they asked me about a network, and I am thinking fiber optics, switches, cable, and I'm in the middle of answering it and realize suddenly in healthcare, it's physicians, it's hospitals, it's doctors. And I'm like, oh my gosh, the same word means completely different things. So that was probably my first learning is learn the language, listen to how people in that industry, whatever it is, they talk and what language they use, and then think about it from that term. So I would tell you, even if you're moving from industry to industry or profession to profession, you need to listen to their language and then think about how you mirror it. You take that into the not for profit, and they're like, well, Pam, what do you think makes you qualified to apply for this role? And I had a recruiter give me some very kind but firm feedback that she said, I can't see any relevance between your telecom and you wanting to do it with food at that time. So I had to think about it in terms of, well, operationally, I was really good at getting trucks and service restored within 24 hours. Well, in food, if your food is perishable and you want to have it to its destination and being used when it's freshest within 24 hours, now I could talk about how my ability to understand systems and logistics in telecom or healthcare would actually apply to, in this case, food is like, oh, operationally, this is how it applies. So you have to learn then how it applies and connect the dots. And customer service and those experiencing homelessness, my guests, my residents, I think they need excellent customer service. So how do I think about customer service in terms of it's transferable? But the burden is on the person wanting to make the change. It is not on the person interviewing them to connect the dots.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So, what would be your advice for people who want to make a career transition? And you'd suggest different strategies for people transitioning earlier in their career versus later in their career?
So I think there are many things that are applicable to whenever you are in your career, because I would have said I had to convince from telecom to healthcare. Why did it apply? Well, I was excellent at customer service and operations. And everything you can do positions you for your next job. Now, be honest, I always tell people do your first job that you have right now with excellence. So don't get too focused like, oh, I want this out there and then not do your current job really well. Do your current job with excellence and people will see that. So do that. But then throughout my whole career, what I often did, and it's also true for how I hired people, it's really hard to hire somebody who knows everything about every job. And sometimes you don't want the job that you know everything about. So I would always look at what am I do really well that when I move into this job, I can be successful. I got to have a certain amount of skills to be successful. And then what about it is a new skill or experience I want to pick up so that I'm learning and growing and positioning me for future things. So it's happened to me, I'll give 2 examples. So when I was at Optum and United Healthcare and making a job change, I had the operations side, but I didn't have any clinical experience. And yet that's pretty important in healthcare is the healthcare side and the clinical. And so I leveraged the conversation into moving into clinical operations. I was the first non-clinician to lead the psychiatrist and the social workers and all of the clinical care authorizations and utilization management. So I had the operationals, I got to learn, but then I had to say, Pam, go learn it while you're in the job. So, which is the other part of it. So that would be an example. Or one I often find with people early in their careers, people supervision. So, how do you get people supervision if you don't have it yet? So, maybe you talk to your boss about having an intern, or maybe in your volunteer work, you talk about leadership through other people. So, it happens at all points in your career. So, think about what you're doing. But I think it applies to changing between jobs and big companies, as well as changing between companies, as well as changing sectors.
Yeah, that is totally true. And that is such great advice for always being mindful of how your skills can transition like that. So, Pam, you recently won the Kate Berman Leadership Award. Can you tell us more about your leadership style?
Yeah, just before I came, I thought I'd ask my team, like, what do you think my leadership style is? Intense. I'm like, okay, I don't know. All right, I don't know that that's where I want to go. What I would say I have learned is, first of all, is it's always about learning, and that I have stepped into many roles where I'm not the smartest about how to do all of the jobs of the team. And so I bring with me curiosity to learn and a frankness that my employees know their job probably better than I do because they're doing jobs that I haven't ever done often. So, as a leader, where do you bring your authentic curiosity to learn and understand? And that way you can hear the many perspectives that helps inform you in terms of the decisions that you need to make. So, and one way that I often do that is I very much have tried always to like have access to frontline. Like, let's sit with a customer service representative. Let's go in with a technician during the day. In my shelter now at Union Gospel Mission Twin Cities, we have open forums and we listen to what's going well and not going well. That informs me. Now, my team was scared to death because they're like, oh my gosh, what's she going to do with this? I said, it's an opportunity for us to learn together. So I would say this learning with curiosity, your team will have many of the answers. Your job as the leader is to help facilitate the team who has the answers come together to have the answers. So, this learning notion of it. And then I would also say it's about teamwork. You're not a good leader if you don't have enough following, or you need to bringing everyone together to be their best and really find a team solution. I have this handout with new employees that I give to them and go, here's a little bit about my leadership. And I talk through it. And then I go ask everybody else because they'll tell you the real story. This is my perception of myself. But it starts with the team and it ends with the team because I can't be successful unless the entire team is successful. And that means where we have common goals and shared accountability.
Right. And so, what would your advice be for leaders?
So take the first little bit and learn. Listen, spend the first week with your direct reports and with your key customers in terms of learn what do they think are the biggest problems? Learn what do they think are some of the solutions? And that will inform you in some of the past. And then what I'd also say is there's a little bit of agility in leadership. There's no perfect solution every time at every moment. And one of the things that I had to learn when I went to Union Gospel Mission Twin Cities. So it was a organization with 120 employees and a $17 million budget, different than my 3,000 employees and multiple billion-dollar budget I had at UnitedHealthcare. The principles are the same, but what was needed at different times. So in some cases, I needed to role model. This is what I need you to do and know that people are watching more than what I'm saying. They are watching. And then sometimes I would have to teach in terms of this is how you might need to do it because they might not have had that experience. Sometimes I might have to actually do something. And so, how are you taking your leadership style and adapting it for that problem in that environment? And what I have found is sometimes I need to role model and direct, and sometimes I need to be a little more patient. That's hard, a little more patient, and let the team come up with what they think they need to do.
Yeah, that is great, great advice. Pam, many of the Mentee mentees that I work with are interested in getting experience on a board. So you are definitely the person to ask about this because you serve on many boards. Can you talk about how you got on your first board and suggest a strategy for people who would like to serve on a board?
Yeah, so first of all, I will tell people don't be shy about asking. When I got on my first board, I just relocated back to Minneapolis and I said, gosh, I'd like to do more in my community. And so the first thing, especially people looking for not-for-profit board, find something you're passionate about. Find something that you care deeply in because you're volunteering your time. In many cases, you're volunteering your dollars and you're volunteering your expertise. So make sure that it aligns with what you care about and what's important to you, because I do believe that type of volunteer board service, it should fill you up. But that's an important first start is like, what do you want to do? So on my first board experience, I was like, well, what do I care about? I care about girls. I care about women. And then I reached out to the CEOs of the YWCA Minneapolis and then the Girl Scouts and said, I'm interested in board service. Would you like to meet? If I could leave them a little more than that. Would you like to meet with me and tell me, how could I get involved? And I then met with Becky Roloff, the then CEO, and she didn't say, oh, here's a board role. She got me to volunteer on a committee and do some other things. So sometimes the pathways through committees. I also then went back through UnitedHealthcare at that time. And I said, well, how do you support executives who want to do board service? And that actually was the better pathway because they had a board member who was later rotated off. And because I told them I was interested in this, when the time came, they said, well, Pam, you've told us you were interested in the YWCA. Danette is rotating off. Would you maybe be considered for her? And so it was a matter that I'd planted seeds, I'd given it time. So that really was how I got in my first. It was a lot of seed planting, a lot of conversations, learning, willing to be other pathways. It changes based on boards though. So to get onto top lines, it's an elected position. So, but the reason I did it is I thought, well, I need more board experience that people think it's a real organization with, financial accountability and profits. And I did call the CEO again, and he was leaving, but he said, you got to run for office. But they have a process where if you don't get elected, but you're a high vote getter, they look at you for a supervisory committee. And then your supervisory committee has a pathway. So again, sometimes it's multiple steps. It takes multiple times in order to think about it, but it was equipping yourself with the skills because now I picked up another skill. So it goes back to my previous, what did I say? Where are you always picking up more skills that make you more qualified? Now I said I knew the organization, they knew me, they trusted me. As an organization, I could say, yeah, I'd like to know them more. And then once I was on supervisory committee, I got placed as a board member in an off election. And then I was an incumbent, and it's much easier to get elected once you're an incumbent. So there's many pathways and many ways, but gain some skills, talk to people, and then sometimes you take a chance. I had to run for election and not get elected. You know what? But not getting elected was an important step. So you could say I failed because I didn't get elected. And I said, no, I succeeded. And the first thing you have to do is get votes. So it takes many different pathways.
Yeah, that is really a great perspective because I think people don't often see that it takes a lot of pathways. It takes talking to people, saying, hey, I'm interested in that. So thank you for sharing how you did that. So Pam, you were a mentee in Menttium's very first cohort, and you have gone on to be an 18-time mentor for Menttium. You have also mentored in other organizations in the community and have won awards for your mentoring. You truly are inspirational in giving back to the community. So can you tell us more about why mentoring has been so important in your career journey?
Well, I really am fortunate to be in that first. It was Minnesota 100 in that first time. So I felt so special to have been in the Minnesota 100. And I always knew that at some point, how could I give back? So it started with, someone helped me. How do I help someone else? One, if you get an opportunity to experience mentoring, you'll learn, you might say, oh, I'm doing it to be benevolent and help someone else. And then your frame of mind will change and your thinking will shift and you'll go, oh, I think I'm learning a lot. Oh, I never thought of it that way. Oh, I never realized I did this. That's what young people think, right? All of those things. So I would say that might have been why I started, but why I continue is it is a great opportunity for me to learn different industries, to get different insights from people that I might not see normally or have experience with, and to make more friends. So for me, it is as much about what I think I get out of the mentorship as what I think that I give to it, is why I've continued to choose and say this is important to continue to do, and I need to make it a priority to always do a little bit of it.
Yeah, I hear that so often from seasoned mentors that they get as much out of the relationship as they feel like they give in the relationship. And I just love that perspective that it's about learning and growing and meeting new people and learning perspectives from other people. Pam, thank you so much for being my guest today on this episode of the Menttium Matters podcast. I am truly inspired by all that you've done, and thank you for sharing some of your secrets for how you've been so successful and showing how you can think about your skills in a way that they can transfer to other industries, learning the language of another industry, your open curiosity that you talked about, your always learning from the people that you lead, just the agility that you show of figuring out like what role do I need to take as a leader. This has been just fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing your perspective and for being an 18-time mentor with Menttium and for all that you do for the greater community.
Well, thank you. And I would also say I've got a lot of mentors out there, past and current, that have actually helped me along the way. And I'm just grateful for them. And hopefully they see the wisdom they've shared with me and what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I think that's like that great circle of continuing to pay it forward and you pay what they've given to you forward to all these people. Thank you all for listening to this episode of the Menttium Matters podcast. We have many great guests lined up, so we hope you will join us again next time. Thank you.